Hello, Julie here, and thank you for joining me today. My layout today is for the cyber crop over at Mystical Scrapbooks. You'll find a link to that in the description box, and you have 1 week, I think it is, to get your entry in to win one of the great prizes that are up for offer. There are 3 challenges. This particular challenge is to use a flip or layer your photos on top of each other so that it opens up like a little booklet. So at the end of the video I will show you how I put those into my album so that you can actually open the little flip. So I'm going to start work on the background. I'm using a craft, I suppose light coloured craft cardstock for that. I'm going to use this Arty stencil called Be the Sunshine and a blending brush, a Hero Arts blending brush, and some distress inks in Rusty Hinge and Scattered Straw. So I'm going to just use my brush to apply the colour randomly through the stencil on the background. To add a little more detail to the background, I'm going to use this uniquely creative numeric mark making stamp and my vintage photo distress ink, and just stamp here and there on the background. There's not a great deal of the stamping on the page. Now I'm going to make the flip that's going to hold my top photo. To do that I'm using uniquely creative Steampunk safari paper called Technical. I'm cutting it 6 1/4 inches by 4 inches. Now I made a mistake with the 4 inches. It really only needed to be 3 3/4 inches, and I ended up having to trim that extra 1/4 inch off. So if you're going to do this, you cut your paper 6 1/4 by 3 3/4. My photo is 3 inches by 6 inches. I'm going to use my scoreboard now and score at 1/2 inch along the 3 3/4 inch edge. It shows at 4 inches here, of course, but I've already explained that. Now I've got 5 photos on this layout. 3 of them are 3 inches by 6 inches and 2 of them are 3 1/2 by 6 inches. I used my emery board and filed around the edge of every one of those photos, and then I used my black Versacolor ink cube to ink around the edge. Because I'm putting them onto like a fawny coloured background, I wanted the photo to have a black line around it so that it stood out a little more. Now I'm going to attach the front photo to that flip panel. I am only going to put a bit of tape down the centre of the photo because I plan on sewing around the edge of it with my sewing machine. This is where I realised that it is 1/4 inch too wide, and I trimmed that 1/4 inch off. So now I'm going to mat the 2 larger photos. As a general rule, when I'm matting photos, I will generally make the mat 1/4 inch taller and 1/4 inch wider than the photo, giving me an 1/8 inch border all the way around. So because these photos are 3 1/2 by 6, I'm cutting them 6 1/4 by 3 3/4 for the mats. As I normally do, I'm inking around the edge of all of my pattern papers. Now I took my layout to my sewing machine. I used a dinner plate and drew a circle on my background and stitched around that 3 times, all wobbly all over the place. I also stitched around each of the photos. I stitched around the 2 photos that are going under the flap as well, even though they're not attached to anything as yet. Both my granddaughter and I have got pink tops on, so I decided to bring some pink into this layout. I'm using this bright pink cardstock. I don't know the name of it, I just got it out of my stash. I'm cutting the centre out of that, so it just leaves a 1-inch frame all around. Now I'm going to trim my background down so that it's 11.5 inches square. I used double-sided tape to attach that background to the frame, and then I took it to my sewing machine and stitched around the edge. Okay, so now that I've finished with the background and the photos, I'm going to start work on embellishing the page or decorating the page. I'm going to use Steampunk Safari's Awesome sheet. I'm going to cut 2 pieces of that are 2.5 inches by 8.5 inches. Next I used the paper that I cut out of the middle of the frame on the background, and I cut 2 strips that were 1 inch by 8 inches. Now, as I said before, all of the papers in this layout, and most of my layouts, have got the edges inked. I just won't keep repeating that every time I'm talking about it, but everything has been inked. I'm also going to use this basic grey paper that I've had in my stash for years and years and years. It's green at heart, and the paper is called Kermit. I'm going to cut 2 pieces 1.5 inches square and 2 pieces 1.5 inches by 2 inches. On the 2 pieces that are 1.5 inches by 2 inches, I cut a fishtail in one of the narrow ends. I cut up 1/2 inch to the centre. I'm going to assemble the clusters to go behind the 2 larger photos now. So I'm going to use my liquid glue to do this. I'm using art glitter glue. First I'm going to attach those bright pink strips to the inside edge, I guess you could say, because it's going to be on the inside of the layout edge of the papers. So the paper that is going to go behind the top photo will have the pink paper on the right hand edge, and the one that's going to go on the bottom photo is going to have the pink section on the left hand edge. Once I've got those in place, I'm centering them on those papers so that there's about 1/4 inch above and below the pink strip on the printed paper. Then I'm going to add the basic grey paper above the photo. So I'm just going to set my photo in place and work out where I want those pink pieces to go. Then I will attach those. So I'm going to have the square piece at the top of the photo and the fishtail end under at the bottom of the photo. Once I've got the panels assembled, I add the panels and the photo to the layout. So I fix them in place. Once again, I use liquid glue. When I'm doing layouts, I generally use double-sided tape, but sometimes I find it just easier to use liquid glue, and I find that this art glitter glue does stay in place, does the job, doesn't crinkle up the papers or anything like that. If you do happen to get some where you don't want it, it doesn't seem to show somehow. So anyway, that's why I use the art glitter glue, but as I said, mostly when I'm scrapbooking I will use double-sided tape. To attach my flip photo, I have added glue to that hinge part, that 1/2 inch that we'd folded under, and now I'm attaching that to the background. You can see there the hinge that is attaching that. You can see that I've already attached the photo to the back of the flip panel. Now I'm going to attach the photo to the layout that's going to be under the flip. So when the flip is closed, you won't see either of these photos. To embellish the layout, I've got the creative cuts for this range, and I've also got the unique paper, which is on one side has got a whole heap of things that you can fussy cut. So I've fussy cut all of those as well. I don't use them on this particular layout, or not many of them anyway. So now I'm just playing around with positioning. I've chosen some tags, not tags, labels I guess you'd call them, a ticket, and two animals, one giraffe and one zebra, which are both out at Minato Zoo. We've seen both of them on the day, and the animals were fussy cut from that sheet that I said, that unique, I think it was called. Anyway, now I'm just adding all of those embellishments to my layout. One of the optional things that you can do out at Minato Zoo is this giraffe feeding, and that's what these photos are all about. I've used my Kaisercraft DD700 alphabet uppercase dies to cut my title from black cardstock. Now I use this die quite a lot for titles that I want tall and skinny. As a matter of fact, I use it a great deal, so yeah, it's one of my favourites. Now to keep my title straight, what I do is I line them up on a ruler, and then I put some removable tape across it so that the letters sort of are joined all together. Well, they're not actually, but they all move as one. And then I can move them up and down, position them where I think they might look the best, so it gives me the opportunity to try them in all sorts of different places without having to move them one letter at a time. And then when I find the place I want to put them, it's easy enough to just put some glue on the back and stick them in position. Once the glue has grabbed, it's a very easy job to remove that removable tape. I'm going to give my title a coat of the glossy accents, and this goes on thick and milky, but when it dries it's completely clear and it's got a beautiful smooth feel to it. I use this quite a lot. It's one of my favourite ways of highlighting my title. It's the next day now and the title is completely dry, and I'm going to show you how I put the layouts into my album so that I can open the photo. So first of all, I put the layout into the pocket protector. Then I get my ruler and a pencil, or actually this is like a removable texter, and I draw a line where I want my flap to be able to open. Once I have done that, I will get a piece of cardboard or a cutting mat or something like that and put into the page protector and underneath where I want to cut that line. Once I have got all of that in position, I will use my blade to cut that slit. Once I've got the slit there, well then I simply poke my hand into the pocket protector and push that top photo through the slit. Sometimes I may need to cut a little sliver out so that I've got like a double cut, and put so that it closes a bit easier, but generally if you mark it correctly you can get it to sit properly. Anyway, so I just thought I'd show you that that's how I do that, so that if you plan on using pockets on your layouts, you can find a way to actually have them flappable or usable. So there we have my layout with the photo booklet, I suppose you could call it, on my layout, and you can actually see all of the photos. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, and if you look in the description box you will find a link to the challenge over at Mystical Scrapbooks. So thank you for watching, and I hope you can join me for my next video. Bye.